I'm Evelyn Culp, interviewing her.
Welcome to Evie's History Bites, hosted by Martha Owen, the Heritage Collection Manager of the ELC Heritage Collection. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Evie's History Bites. I'm Martha, your host, and we have another great episode for you. My husband Eli is back on the podcast, and we sat down to talk about Nappanee College. Yes, you heard that right, Nappanee College. Let's get right into our conversation. All right, Eli, thank you so much for sitting down with me to deep dive into Nappanee history. I know whenever we sit down and talk about different topics and really do deep dives, I come away with a lot more questions than answers, and I just want to dive straight into research, ignore all of my other responsibilities, and figure out the answers to our questions.
Yeah, these are always fun. I enjoy these.
All right, so did you know that Nappanee almost had a college?
I did not.
All right, so can you imagine Nappanee as a college town?
The traffic would be more unbearable.
I know, I was going to say, it's already unbearable right now. Can you imagine, Saturdays with a football team, basketball, all the sports?
It would definitely make it, it would turn into a booming town, I'm pretty sure. There's a campus right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, and especially, it would, when we get into, where the location was supposed to be, it'd be, a completely different, thumbprint. Nappanee would have a completely different footprint, thumbprint, whatever you want to call it, than it does today.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so in February of 1895, a proposed Nappanee College appears in the records. It was necessary to raise $7,000 in Nappanee, of which the amount of $4,000 was to be given by the town outside of the church membership.
Here's a little bit of info I dug up. That $7,000 is today $269,206.67.
Wow. That, I don't even think that would fund a college today.
No, I don't think so either. But what $7,000 could do in 1895, with inflation even, it'd probably get you a building or two, I'm assuming.
Because, but although, once we get, really into this story, I think it gets, where it goes from, $7,000 to $15,000, and that was just for, to build one building. But, so, I was saying, the monies were coming from had to come from church membership. So, other Dunkard Church or German Baptist churches in Indiana were also to subscribe to the college. They wanted the college to be within 40 rods of the church. What, do you even know what a rod is?
That's those old-timey phrases, but you did the research.
Yes.
And that is 1/8 of a mile.
Yeah, so the college had to be within 1/8 of a mile of the church. Negotiations for a site of the college were initiated, and those men on the locating committee that were out of the 9 directors included John Brown, Levi Early, which he is a very unique character in Nappanee history. And I know that I'm calling him a character because I feel like a lot of the people in Nappanee's histories, they're just a character and they add to Nappanee's rich and unique past. So Levi Early, he is one of the most unique characters out of Nappanee history. He is one of the most valuable characters out of Nappanee history. We could probably even do just a podcast on him. He wrote in his diary every single day from the 1860s until he passed away in 1916. And what's so crazy is that the Heritage Collection owns all of his journals. His 1895 journal is sitting on my desk, and I was actually reading through it getting a lot of information about the college just from his diary, which he is a great history character person in Nappanee history, so rich of information, and he helps fill in the gaps as well prior to Nappanee being settled in 1875. And then you have J.C. Mellinger, which if you're a Coppice historian, if you're a Coppice fan, you would know that J.C. Mellinger was a brother-in-law to the Coppice brothers, and he actually owned the sawmill that the Coppice brothers purchased from him. H.W. Staley, he was one of the founders of Nappanee, he was included. Dr. George Shoemaker was in this group, and then the last one was Daniel Zook. So if you're also a Coppice historian, Coppice fan, you'll know that at one point it was Coppice Brothers and Zook. It was Coppice, Zook, and Muchler. Daniel is that Zook. He was a lawyer. He was a businessman. He was the driving force behind Coppice. We can even do like a whole podcast probably on Mr. Zook as well. But this group of men, they looked at three principal sites. The Emirate and Staley farms that were adjoining farms. The Corporation Line. So if you think in 1895, the Corporation Line of Nappanee was not what it is today. So when you're thinking about things, reading in Nappanee history, things being a mile away, 2 miles away, it's a lot closer than it was then. And then the other one was J.C. Mellinger's piece of 5 acres in the northeast part of the town. And so they did give a reason why they wanted it to be within an 1/8 of a mile of the church, because they wanted to utilize the church building for a lecture room or some matters in that direction.
Which makes sense.
Yes, it makes complete sense. It would save money. It would be just perfect. So, and what's really, really crazy is those men did not choose any of the sites that they proposed. Like, the farms weren't chosen, the Corporation Line wasn't chosen, J.C. Mellinger's piece was not chosen. They chose a property that was directly north of the church. So the church was at Jackson Street and East Market Street. So, and it was south of Centennial Street. So the church was near where the Catholic Church was. It was obtained from Joseph Crow at $200 per acre, and of the purchase price, he donated $225 back to the college site. In that same year, it was stated that the college site began to bear the appearance of preparations for building. So, you and I kind of talked about this, and I know that we talk about this 6 acres again as well. So we'll get into a little bit more about the location and what we think is the location and what it is today, because I think it's pretty cool what that is. So a declaration of purpose was recorded on March 13th, 1895, and indicated that the controlling board would consist of 9 trustees. Around that same time, and I think it was just because, I want to feel like doing all of this research, I want to feel like there was a rush to get a German Baptist Dunkard college off the ground. Because Goshen was trying to establish a Dunkard college. There were claims made by the newspaper that there were not as many members of that denomination in the city of Goshen as there were in Nappanee. And the newspaper said that Goshen would never have thought to have a Dunkard college until Peter Stuckman had devoted months of his time and his means to personally set the thing in motion, because he knew that Nappanee would be the only town that could properly back up the scheme. And then this comes straight from the newspaper. If the East Goshen congregation, by their bluster and no money raised, can succeed in making as much noise as the Nappaneeites can with the money in hand, they are in a fair way to bring on the strife that will end the whole project falling to the ground. If they haven't given this a thought, they ought to. So I think like Goshen wanting to also have a Dunkard College kind of set the ball rolling, and Nappanee thinking like, oh my gosh, like the college isn't going to happen. So in mid-March of 1895, there was a citizens meeting at Coppice Hall, which I don't think I've ever talked of Coppice Hall on the podcast, but Coppice Hall was in the upstairs of the Coppice Hotel. So they met there to help further aid in the college project. Which, if you know anything about Nappanee history, this is also, Coppice Hall was where they held town meetings, all that kind of stuff. So it makes perfect sense that they met in Coppice Hall, because the auditorium wasn't even built yet. So the church districts had not been canvassed to any great extent yet, and the sum subscribed by Nappanee and the immediate vicinity had not been largely increased. It was said that the project was something that could not be afforded to be missed. The newspaper claimed that it would possibly be one of the best schools of the Dunkard, or the German Baptist persuasion. A conditional subscription to the college fund was taken, which only would be made payable on carrying out the project. It was projected to cost $15,000 just for one building.
And again, I did research. And today, that $15,000 is $576,871.43.
Which you still can't even build a building for that.
You got a nice house.
You could get a nice house, but you wouldn't be able to get a college building. I think that's $15,000 just for one building.
Just for one building.
On March 20th, 1895, the newspaper said that the Nappanee Dunkard College has been located, or rather the grounds on which the college will be built. The site was, like I said, directly north of the church building and Centennial Street, and is said to be very nice site as well as convenient. So we said that this was 6 acres that was owned by Joseph Crow. It was located in the John Stauffer addition. So I want you to think of John Stauffer. A lot of people don't know about John Stauffer. He's another very interesting character. Stauffer Park is named after him in Nappanee. It went from east being named. So a lot of people don't know this. Why we have Westside Park and Stauffer Park. It used to be Westside Park and Eastside Park. But Eastside Park was renamed to Stauffer Park. So think of Stauffer Park when you're thinking of John Stauffer. So they said that both Centennial Streets and Van Buren Street would be more to the east. And then Mrs. Mary Newman also gave an 8-foot strip off her grounds towards the project, opening up the street north, running from Market Street. So that meant like Jackson Street could come through. It was said that locating the college site in that portion of the town should and probably will give the property in that vicinity a good lift. The site also had an advantage of good drainage because it had the largest sewer in town, and the city's water mains were within 3 square blocks. So we talked about this property being on the east side of town. Also that it would open up both Centennial Streets and Van Buren Street. would be more open to the east. So, and this property is north of Market Street. So the college property would possibly be within the vicinity of where Nappanee Elementary School is today, where Nappanee High School is. The crazy part is that in like the 1920s, I want to say, because it was so many years before the school actually built on that property. Like, they own the property, but they never built on it, because the high school there opened in 1958. So I want to say it was around like when Nappanee was realizing that they needed to have a better building for playing sports. They needed a better field for football. They needed a really good basketball court and things like that. So I think that they purchased the college property. I don't know who would have owned it in that time, but it makes complete sense for that property because Centennial and Van Buren Streets dead end right into that property. And like, the water plant isn't too far from there as well. So yeah, it makes perfect sense that the school property was the site of the college.
So it technically still did get turned into a school, just not what they originally planned back in the 1890s.
Yes.
It is an elementary school.
It is an elementary school. And what's really crazy is a lot of people don't know, like, when the first Nappanee school was built in Nappanee, it took like 8 years to complete. Like, it was started and like it took 8 years to complete, and then they like took out like the wooden stoves and all, like they had to make more room. Like, that school was too small. Like, Nappanee schools were too small to begin with, from the first school to the high schools to the elementary schools to the other. So like, it's really, really crazy that they were going to build a college in Nappanee, because like Nappanee from the get-go like underestimated how many children were going to be going to school and always made their schools too small. So when the Articles of Incorporation were filed, it was said that the college was to be maintained under the support of the German Baptist Brethren. 9 trustees were named, and there were all but 3 were from Nappanee. So the ones that were from Nappanee were Peter Stuckman, Daniel Wysong, J.C. Mellinger, Dr. George Shoemaker, John Brown, and Levi Early. So what's really crazy with Levi Early, like I said, he's one of my favorite characters in Nappanee history. He documents a lot of the ongoings of the college in his diaries, from the organization to canvassing for fun to hauling stone and sand to the building site. So a large lot of stone and sand had been hauled onto the grounds, and work of the building was expected to move forward as soon as the subscriptions could be collected. And so it's all very fascinating. And like, what a like, when you think of a subscription, like, we don't call it subscriptions today. I think we call it more of like, it would be like more of a donation or like a promissory note. So like, you could come to me, Eli, and you could be like, I'm raising funds for Nappanee College. How much money would you like to give? And I would be like, I would like to subscribe $100. And I don't have to give you that $100 right away. Like, I could give it to you later. And so I think that's what they were running into. Like, people were subscribing, and he would talk about going and, like, collecting subscriptions. So, like, it was pretty interesting that, like, they really wanted, like, all of his interesting, like, it would maybe say in his diary, like, went to the school site today to work a little bit, hauled a load of sand in. like, it was sometimes just, like, one sentence type things, but, like, you kind of, like, let your imagination just go with it. All right, so is it okay if we take a little break from talking about the college?
Oh, I suppose.
Okay, so we're going to break down the Dunkard, the Dunker, and the German Baptist Brethren. So, religions are always, like, are always transforming. There's always new branches of things. Like, sometimes I feel like you just can't keep up with all of the different religions out there. So, one of the religions that really has evolved is the Dunker and the Dunker, the Dunkard, the Dunker, and the German Baptist Brethren. So, what we're talking about with the German Baptist persuasion and the Dunkard persuasion, when we're talking and referring to the college, is that we're actually talking about what would be today's Church of the Brethren. Like, there are still, like, Dunkards out there. There's still German Baptists out there as well. But the branches of that, what we're talking about, is the Church of the Brethren. So the Dunkers came, the name Dunkers comes from their baptismal practice because they do full body immersion or dunking. And the German Baptists were a part of and I'm going to, like, butcher this, the Schwarzwälder, I'm sure it's German, Brethren, which that was an Anabaptist group that's descended from the Roman Catholic, Lutheran, and Reformed European state churches during the 17th and 18th century. So it's said that in August of 1708, 5 men and 3 women, among them was Alexander Mack, gathered at the Eder River in for baptism. It's like Schwarzwälder for baptism. It was an illegal act since all had been baptized as infants. They understood that baptism was an outward symbol of their new faith and as a commitment to living that faith in community. An anonymous member of that group first baptized Mac, and he in turn baptized the other 7. This group simply called themselves the Brethren. Brethren began immigrating to North America in 1719 under the leadership of Peter Becker, and there was expansion across the continent and changes due to the Industrial Revolution that caused strain and conflict among the Brethren. In the early 1880s, a major schism took place, resulting in a 3-way split. The large branch after the schism was the German Baptist Brethren, who changed their name to the Church of the Brethren in 1908.
Too many schisms for my taste.
Yeah, I know, like, and what's really interesting...
Schisms.
What's really interesting is there's a history book or something out there that claims that, like, Daniel Zook was related somehow to Alexander Mack. And you also, did you know this fun fact? We have Camp Mack.
Camp Mack?
On Lake Wabi in Milford. So it's a Church of the Brethren camp. So it's named for Alexander Mack.
Well, that makes sense.
And then what I really found interesting when I was researching the colleges and universities that were established in our area over 100 years almost was Notre Dame being established in 1862, St. Mary's in 1864. Wait for it, because this one's really funny. because we talked about how Goshen tried to get the Dunkard or the German Baptist Brethren College, but Goshen College was established in 1894. And then, Manchester College in 1895 as the Church of the Brethren College. They were actually founded before that, but in 1895 became the Church of the Brethren College. Then Bethel College in 1947 and Grace College in 1948. And then you could also throw the Anabaptist Mennonite Biblical Seminary coming to Elkhart in 1945.
So that means we're due for another local college to show up. We're overdue.
Yeah, we are overdue.
Well, get on that, Nappanee. Make it a reality now.
And I forgot one to add in there. Holy Cross came to the area. Holy Cross College was established in like the 1960s. So we are still overdue for a religious Christian college being added to the area.
It's up to you, Nappanee. You can do it. I believe in you.
And we only say that it's Bethel College being established in 1947 because it only recently turned to Bethel University. So back to the college. Alright, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about what was going on in North Manchester because there was some pretty shady stuff going on in North Manchester. So, there was, and the research that I got for this comes from the North Manchester Historical Society and the North Manchester Journal as it was appearing in the Nappanee newspaper. So there was this person with the name of Professor C.E. Cribble, and he said that he had access to $1 million endowment for the United Brethren Church in North Manchester. Or the United Brethren College in North Manchester. According to an article in the North Manchester Journal from 1894, this endowment would help the college to become a university, but Professor Cribble had 3 demands. That he was given the superintendent position over all the city schools, that the college would be furnished with free electric lights and free water, and that 100 one-year scholarships would be subscribed in the town, or 150 in the town and township at $30 each for the scholarship. He also proposed to bring to the college a corps of 15 to 20 high-class professors in several departments and to raise the college to the rank of a university of the first class. I always find it funny, like, when you're reading in the old-time newspapers, like, everything is, like, they're always like, oh, everything is going to be first class. Everything is, like, we're, like, the best in the country. Like, it's so crazy, like, how newspapers are written.
True competition amongst cities back then.
Yeah, there was. I mean, you have, like, railroad towns fighting for industries, because I don't want to say it was, like, we're pretty close to the Industrial Revolution around this time. I want to say.
Yeah, we're right in the midst of it at this point, for sure, yeah.
So, there's just a lot of competition wanting to outdo each other. So Mr. Cribble was eventually approved by the college's trustees to take charge of the college and to bring in the $1 million with him. So, which is pretty crazy because I mean, $1 million. What is that in inflation?
Let us see.
There's 6 zeros.
Technology. Just a moment. $1 million in 1895 is worth $38,458,095.24 today.
Which, that's a huge, crazy endowment. Like, and when you're thinking of endowments, like, that's your, basically, like, you're making the endowment, you're investing the money, and then the money that is made by interest off of the endowment every single year would be then used for funding. Like, you can never touch, they would never, like, be able to touch that $1 million as an endowment. So fast forward to 1895, there's a newspaper article that was in the Nappanee newspaper. It was also in the North Manchester Journal. It said that Professor Cribble's $1 million endowment for the United Brethren College at North Manchester had at last been exploded, and I want to say, I think I wrote this wrong in my notes, and be exploited, and the professor places under bond of $1,000 to answer the charges of false pretense. Like, when I found out initially about Professor Cribble, like, I was like, this is shady. Like, this is really, really shady.
Did he just come up and just say, hey, I have $1 million to give. Here's my demands.
I think it was basically, so when I was reading through the articles in the North Manchester Journal that the North Manchester Historical Society had about this, like, it sounded like, yeah, he just kind of came out of nowhere. And they even in the newspaper was just, like, a little leery of him because they're like, this man who goes by this name had, like, so they were...
Professor C.E.
Yeah, it's like Professor C.E. Cribble.
That's okay.
Yeah, like, and, like, he comes in with, like, all of these demands, like, make me president, make me the superintendent of the city school. Like, North Manchester had to have been left in shambles. So Dean Howe was the ex-president and one of the trustees that began the action on an affidavit, and it was said that on or about September 1st of 1894, one Charles E. Cribble did unlawfully, feloniously, knowingly, designingly, and falsely represent to that said Howe and the trustees of the college that he was an agent of a party who had $1 million to endow a college, and that he would place the same in the college at North Manchester if they would give him the presidency of the college and free use of the college property. There's so many red flags. Like,
I'm going to be the president, and I get to use the facility as I see fit.
Like, why did he want to use the facility? Like,
He wanted to live there, apparently.
Apparently. So Howe and the trustees, believing and relying on their false pretenses and being deceived thereby, were induced by reason thereof to give Cribble what he asked for. So I'm not wondering if, like, the college was, like, the United Brethren College that was at North Manchester was just really hurting for money if they were looking for $1 million endowment.
$1 million. That's an impressive figure. And, I mean, you can probably... This is a speculation, but maybe some people were leery of him, but others were like, it's $1 million.
Yeah.
That could help us.
And I mean, there were, like... So, like, I just skimmed the newspapers and of the North Manchester Journal, and I will say that I just took out the juicy parts. So all of these false pretenses and statements were made by the said Cribble with intent to do fraud and cheat said Howe and the trustees, and that they were known by Cribble to be false at the time they were made. So, like, there was never $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
In truth and fact, he was not an agent for any such party and did not have $1 million or any part thereof, nor did he endow said college as per agreement. He now is having moved away and abandoned the college, but all of these pretenses were false as he well knew. contrary to the stature and against the peace and dignity of the state of Indiana. Dr. Cribble had moved from North Manchester to Warsaw and was later arrested.
What actually became of the professor?
I don't know. Like, I kind of lost track of him. I want to say that he probably, like, served, like, time in prison, in jail or something like that.
I'm curious. Reading this, like, he tried to pull a fast one on a town in a college, and it's wild, and, you know, it's just like, does his story end there? Does he just go to jail and serve his time?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I just, like, skimmed for the juicy parts, and a lot of this did appear in the Nappanee newspaper. There are some articles, like I said, on North Manchester's Historical Society's website that does pull newspaper articles about this whole thing. You go to, like, subjects, the college, and then I think you go to, like, $1 Million Scandal or something like that. But in that same newspaper, there's also an article stating that the German Baptists were endeavoring to gain control of the property of the Manchester College in North Manchester with the view of establishing a college, but the trustees would not make terms with them. So here we have, all of a sudden we have this college campus that becomes available. I want to say that was defunct. I don't know if students were still going there, per se. But yeah, so they have this college campus miraculously, like, appear. So it's almost like, yeah, I don't know, like, was Professor Cribble like a German Baptist supporter in disguise, trying to get this college, like, yeah. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there with Professor Cribble. So in the May 1st, 1895 issue of the newspaper, it is mentioned about how the Manchester Journal talks about the Dunkirk College and how they might purchase the United Brethren College property of build elsewhere. The people asked for a $15,000 donation, same as Nappanee, to locate the college at North Manchester. North Manchester was confident that they could secure the funds for it, and Nappanee reported that the old United Brethren College had been purchased and guaranteed $5,000 towards the project. Nappanee claimed that the building was not as good as the public school building in Nappanee, and that the North Manchester property put a quietist on the Nappanee project. There was much realized that two projects wouldn't be encouraged in the state.
Yeah, especially back then, I could see that.
Yeah.
They didn't want...
And it was also said, like, that the Brethren, that the German Baptists and the Brethren had already, like, established colleges in other states. Like, they had them in, like, Pennsylvania, Ohio, other places like that. So, yeah, they wouldn't support two projects in Indiana. So Peter Stuckman had spent his time and money to work on the college project in Nappanee, knowing that it would receive the endorsement and support of the church, as the people of Nappanee showed the disposition to put up a credible building. The money was subscribed and was sufficient enough to put up a much better structure than at the United Brethren Church. There was an urgent call for a meeting on May 7th asking whether or not the citizens would move forward with the proposed work of Nappanee College, which I could not find any newspaper articles reporting on that meeting, so I have no idea if that meeting actually happened. In the June 26, 1895 issue of the Nappanee newspaper, it is said that North Manchester gets that Dunkirk College. Like, that's literally all that it says.
Well, some sour grapes there, probably.
Yeah. Some of the Dunkirk members say that this was more desirable than Nappanee, since they would, since in Nappanee they would have to build all of the buildings. Like, the United Brethren campus just came with all the buildings.
Yeah, but that would... I don't think there's really forward thinking there, because with that, it would have been a fresh college then.
Yeah.
Fresh buildings.
Fresh building.
And then, of course, the revenue, which it would still impact the community today. How much bigger would Nappanee have been if they did get that college in 1895?
Yeah.
That's a what if.
That is a what if, and like, you know, we wouldn't have Nappanee Elementary in its location. We wouldn't have the Boys and Girls Club in its location. There would have never been Memorial Field. Nappanee High School would have been built elsewhere. There's just like a lot of like tumbling and building blocks that is just like, oh my goodness, like this all wouldn't have happened if we would have had a college. There could have been no Stauffer Park. Yeah. Like, if they would have expanded, there would have been no, like, Northwood subdivision. Like, there was just a lot of things. So, being the historian and researcher that I am, I emailed Manchester College, now University, to ask them, what information you have about this, because I did the research and I know that Manchester College, or North Manchester, got the college over Nappanee. They answered back saying that they had no idea what Nappanee College was, which is a bit concerning for the historian in me, because in the book they called it Nappanee. It says that because there's actually a seal for the college. Like, they actually had a seal made for Nappanee College.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, it is said that the seal is in Manchester University's archives. So it's very concerning to me as a historian that, like, Manchester University is like, what are you talking about? And it's like, where's the seal? So, they do not reflect the same history. They trace their roots back to the Roanoke Classical Seminary, which was founded by the United Brethren Church in Roanoke, Indiana in 1860. The seminary became North Manchester College in 1889 when it moved to North Manchester. Representatives of the Church of the Brethren purchased the campus in 1895 and deeded it to the 4 state districts of the church in 1902. So, like, they don't even have, like, that it was a German Baptist church school that they were purchased in 1895. So, like, I thought that was really interesting. But, like, one really cool thing about Manchester University that I found is that Martin Luther King Jr., like, spoke there.
I think I actually knew that. I thought years ago that he spoke around the area, because I'm from that general area.
Yeah, you're from that general area.
So that's not quite news to me, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, so they don't have that. The school was defunct for a little bit, and they also don't mention the $1 million endowment scandal.
Oh, that would be interesting. Interesting history. It's like you got some man tried to swindle us.
Yeah.
Be proud of that. It's interesting.
It is very, very interesting. So, like, while researching this, I have so many questions. Like, what was, like, why did Nappanee think that they would get the college when all of this was going on in North Manchester? Like, I know that they like poo-pooed on Goshen, but like they really never poo-pooed on North Manchester. It was almost like they were doing all of this work, like putting in the articles of incorporation, like getting the board of directors, getting the subscription, purchasing the property. Like, it seems like that they were doing all of this on very little no hope that Nappanee would actually get a college.
My question is, why didn't they try again? It's like they're going to try to get this Dunkard College.
Uh-huh.
It didn't work out. It went elsewhere. But there are other denominations.
Oh my goodness, there's so many denominations in Nappanee. Like,
Give it another go.
yeah. So like there is no real like push for a college like after 1895.
Like they gave it a try, it didn't work out, and they're just like, oh, we're done.
Yeah, basically.
I say still go for it today, Nappanee. You can do it.
Yeah,
Just
we're due. We could do like a technical school. There could be like a kitchen cabinet school or
it doesn't need to be Notre Dame or anything like that. Nothing too large or over the top. It probably wouldn't even have a sports team
yeah.
at all.
Mhm.
But you can do so much now. But that's just, pie in the sky type of talk anyways.
Pretty much.
It's fun that it's like the what if of what would have happened if they would have got it. Completely different environment there.
Yeah, very, very much different environment. Like the amount of like, so we mentioned Notre Dame a lot because they are the largest university in our area. They actually have their own fire department, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they bring in millions of dollars to our area like yearly just due to their sports teams. Like, if you think of like the amount of like how big Notre Dame is, how big their sports following is, like, you don't even think of like all of the celebrities that also come to Notre Dame, and like think of like what that would have done for Nappanee if they could have like expanded and been as big as Notre Dame.
That's taking the what if to the extreme. Like
That's like pie in the sky.
1895, Nappanee gets Dunkard College.
Yeah.
It's placed there where an elementary school is now, and then expands slowly over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, it's not this little small Dunkard College. Maybe it goes through a name change or something.
Yeah.
And then, it becomes a university as well. And then parts of town just become... If you've been to a college town, you know what I say when I say a college town.
Yeah.
They're cities unto themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You step foot on Notre Dame, Purdue, IU, step on their main campuses, and you might as well just be just in a city that's just named at school. They're big.
Yeah.
They have their own ecosystem. If Nappanee would have become that, I mean, how big would Nappanee have gotten just as a city then? It would have just been immense. Like, I'm trying to imagine the traffic. Just unbelievable.
The traffic would have been a nightmare. Like,
sometimes it's crazy and 6 now. But then, I'm just trying to envision it. Just like, and it grows, and then that whole, basically the northeast section of town would just be the campus.
yeah. Like, there would be no golf course, there would be no park.
That would be... They'd be buying up land, and maybe at that point they probably would have teams.
Yeah.
and then it would be, I mean, and of course shops and, novelty things and things you expect to see and do on a college campus. Go to a college campus someday, folks. A big one. Just explore. Blow your mind.
Yeah. Like, I've been to some major universities. I mean, we've explored at Notre Dame. Like, Purdue is crazy. Like, the distinction, like, you can't just say Lafayette when you're talking about Purdue. You have to say West Lafayette. And, like, Bloomington is, like, when I would meet kids in 4-H, when I would meet kids from Bloomington, like, they would make Bloomington appear as a small town. But, like, that's because, like, the campus itself is so separate from, like, the rest of Bloomington. Like, even though it's in Bloomington, like, it's, like, Bloomington, I mean, I think it's still, like, big, but, because they have, like, a north and a south high school. So, but, yeah, and I mean, even the University of Oregon is just, like, one big, huge, like, Eugene is just one big, huge, like, college town.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's... Could Nappanee have become that over time? I don't know. If they would have got it.
I don't
Maybe
think
it
they
would
would
just be a small thing on the side of the road, and that's just what it became.
And I don't think we would have even had, like, the industry that we would have had with, like, Coppice.
Maybe. Maybe these things kind of happen simultaneously, but... But that would have been the mascot?
The Dutch Maid.
Yeah, the Dutch Maid.
Or they've been the Nappanee Dutch Maids.
Yeah, there you go. Nappanee Dutch Maids.
Alright.
Easy mascot. Gotta figure it out.
Yeah, gotta figure it out. Get writing those articles of incorporation.
You know, kitchen cabinets everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I think we just torpedoed this one.
Considering that we just, like, got it as mascot and,
Yeah, we got it all figured out now.
Yeah.
We have a school name. We have the mascot.
Yeah, well, look for the college coming never.
Never, yeah. Yeah.
Alright, well, it's always fun, like I said, to sit down and talk to you and, like, really dive deep into just random pieces of Nappanee history.
Yeah, this one's been really fun.
So, do you want to do it again?
Oh, sure, why not?
Do you want to talk about UFOs next time?
Oh, oh boy. Here we go, folks.
We're gonna... I discovered a new piece of Nappanee history from the 1980s. So we're look for a very odd episode coming probably in 2026.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much again, Eli.
You're welcome.
Well, that's all that I have for this episode. A special thank you to Eli for joining me on the podcast. And next month, my boss, the library director of the Nappanee Public Library, Seth James, will be joining me, and we're going to be talking about the library and its upcoming renovations. But before you go, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, hit like, or leave us a comment.